Hello, everyone, and welcome to the California March for Life webinar. I'm Sophia Laurie, the Outreach Director at California Family Council, and on the call we have Jonathan Keller, the President of California Family Council, and Jennie Lichter, the new President of March for Life. And we are so excited to have the two of them on today. And we know when it comes to the California March for Life, you're thinking, how do I get up there? What time does everything start? What's the point of marching for life in California? And all these questions might be going through your heads as you're planning to get up to Sacramento for the state march. So we just wanted to make sure you guys knew what to be prepared for and why we march for life in the state of California. And so if you don't already have the date on your calendar, it is Monday, March 31st. We will be at the Capitol in Sacramento. We will be marching for life. We have a great day planned with lots of different activities. We will get to what all those are towards the end of the call. But I want to make sure, if you haven't already, visit marchforlife.org. You can find the California State March and you can RSVP so that we know you're coming to the march. We also encourage that you bring buses full of people. There's a way to register for buses. We even have hotel rooms, a hotel block for those of you that are coming up to Sacramento from Southern California or Central California, and that will be at the Hyatt Regency. It is right across from the state capitol, and that room block is at californiafamily.org. You will see the March for Life tab. You can find it there. We will make sure it gets put in the comments as well. But we are so excited, Jonathan and Jennie, to have the two of you on the call. And Jonathan, this is our 5th annual California March for Life. Maybe if we want to share just the growth we've seen from the 1st to 5th state march here in California.
Well, absolutely. Well, thanks, Sophia and Jennie. So glad to have you with us. I will say it's been such an honor and a privilege to get to work with the National March for Life it's actually been more than 5 years, because I remember talking with our friend, your predecessor, Jeannie Mancini, probably all the way back in 2017 or 2018. When you were first launching the State March program nationally. And it took us a little bit of time. We were planning to do one in June of 2020. And then there was a little national, international, worldwide pandemic that kind of shut us down that year. We were not even able to really get onto the grounds of the Capitol in 2020, as many of you probably remember. But we launched the California March for Life in 2021. And it's really easy for me just to remember every year. It is the annual march that corresponds with whatever the year is. So this is 2025. It's the 5th annual March for Life. And we are so grateful for the partnership, the friendship that we have with our friends at the National March for Life. For those of you who don't know Jennie, she is a wonderful brand new friend. She took over just in January as the new president of the March for Life. And we are just thrilled to have her leading this national and international effort for the pro-life cause. Jennie, I know you won't get to be with us in person this year, but we do have a couple of questions that we want to run down with you. So first off, I just want to say thank you and welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. That's been week 5 or 6 here, I think, at the March for Life. And it has been really terrific, Jonathan, to get to know you and the other state organizations that we work with.
Well, I'm thrilled. I know we're one of, I think, 14 different state organizations now. And our hope and prayer is that every state that has a family policy council would be able to partner with you guys. And eventually we would see 50 state marches in all 50 state capitals around the country. It's a huge vision, and I'm grateful for you guys. So for those of you who are wondering what's the big deal, maybe you've never been to one of our California marches, maybe you've never been to a national march, a couple of questions, Jennie, that you can maybe answer and share some of the vision behind the whole program. So with the Dobbs decision returning the power to protect the unborn to the American people, both at the state and federal level, it really seems like the March for Life has increased their efforts to grow the State March program, and they're coming along grassroots organizations across the country, whether it's family policy councils or other coalitions, to bolster and grow pro-life efforts in every state. So how would you say that the response has been so far in the states that now have state marches for life? And how is this showing to be an effective way to further energize and mobilize the pro-life movement?
Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, it's such a terrific question. It's true that marching in the states is more important than ever, especially after Dobbs. And so the March for Life is expanding our state march program accordingly. We have 18 state marches this year, from sea to shining sea, you all representing the West Coast And then I'll be in Connecticut in a couple of weeks for the Connecticut State March all the way out east. And of course, many places in between. And we routinely hear from organizations in places where there isn't yet a March for Life presence, asking us to come there and work with them to mobilize the grassroots in their state capital. That actually happened with some folks in Alaska just about a month or so ago, where they got in touch and said, hey, can you help us March for Life in Alaska, which was neat, and we jumped on that right away. And then in states where we have been working for a while now alongside state organizations, like in California, our events keep getting bigger and better and more impactful. And, I think the reason for that is that the state marches, like the national march, they really have, I think, a twofold purpose. They are so energizing for the pro-life movement itself, right? For all of us who have the opportunity to go to marches at the state level or in Washington, D.C., you really come away feeling just super excited and energized and affirmed in your beliefs after such a good day, a joyful, hope-filled day. And of course, the marches have a really important witnessing component where the public witness to our legislators, especially because we march at state capitals like we will in Sacramento. But the cultural witness is really important too. I think that the nation and everyone who engages with a March for Life or hears of it realizes, oh, this issue isn't over, and these people are never going to go away, because we still have work to do, is what we would say, and we want to show that to everyone. We're still here, and we're still vocal, and we're not tired of doing this, and we're going to keep showing up until the unborn are protected and their moms are supported. So these events are super powerful, and I think the more state capitals we can be in, and the more legislators and other people who see the witness of the gathered marchers, I think the better off our nation will be.
Well, I totally agree with you. And I love the fact that you pointed out the fact that it is an energizing force. Something I appreciated when I got to hear you speak in January was the fact that you and I actually share in common that our first National March for Life was in January of 2021. I think you were there as a Notre Dame student. I was there as a high school senior just graduating. And it was so powerful. I know for me, that was 24 years ago. And for both of us, that's kind of launched these pro-life careers, this pro-life life of advocacy that we both have. And I think that's something that for everybody who's watching this, I encourage you to come. Definitely go to the National March for Life sometime. If you've never been, you got to go. It's incredible. But also, I would say there's something special about the State March for Life and the way that these work kind of in concert. So I guess my next question would be, how would you say state level marches complement or maybe even enhance the national advocacy work that you're doing in Washington, D.C.? Would you see kind of a national impact from these state marches beyond just the local impact in each state capital?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there is a significant impact that state level marches have on the national mission, the national cause, right, in a couple of ways. And one, the state marches, again, as we said, they really do energize people for broader involvement. And just sort of realistically and logistically, there are a lot of people who can't make it to Washington, D.C. or can't make it every year. So being able to have that same experience, but closer to home, and then to be able to speak to your own legislators, where, state legislators typically have many fewer constituents than your representative or your senator on Capitol Hill, for example. So when you are advocating to your state legislature, that is so powerful. It's like your voice is sort of magnified in a way that is harder to do on the national level. So that's another way that, folks who come to the state marches are energized and affirmed. You kind of take that energy back to your own mission field, whether that's advocacy work or you're called to volunteer at pregnancy resource centers or maternity homes, or to donate diapers, clothes, and cribs. That's terrific. And then the other piece, like I said, is that direct impact of where we're marching around state capitals, we're talking to our legislators by being there, and then sometimes you would even have an opportunity to go inside and meet with your legislators. And that's amazing too. And at the state marches, again, a few thousand really vocal people, that's a huge impact on a state house. And so we appreciate so much the way that energy and that enthusiasm and that advocacy feeds back out into the national level. And I think it's just like a really wonderful ecosystem of how the national march feeds people back into the states to do that work, and then the state marches continues to kind of feed energy into the national movement.
Well, absolutely. And I think it's interesting because a unique thing, obviously, about the state marches is that they're occurring in states that are sometimes less than supportive of pro-life policies. Obviously, I know you just had the march, I think, a couple weeks ago in Georgia. You've got state marches in Ohio run by my good friend Aaron Bear up there. But then you mentioned just a minute ago Connecticut, and obviously us out here in California. When you have states that are so blue, that are not just blue politically, but they are really, I guess, blue culturally and ideologically. Unfortunately, they're not just democratic, but they really tragically are very aggressively pro-abortion in a lot of their policies. How would you say it's best that we can measure the impact of a state march for life in a region that's generally unsupportive of pro-life policies?
hmm Yeah, that's a great question, and it's a question we talk about it with the National March as well. How do you, how do you or do you even want to try and sort of quantify the success of these marches? And I don't think that's the right way to think about it, honestly. A state march is successful if people come and leave inspired to keep standing for life, right? Because again, there's so much good work that can be done even in states where the laws are sort of unbudging in their protection of abortion, right? Because what we want to do is to be encouraging and supporting individual pregnant women to be choosing life. And the abortion rate will go down and more babies will be saved, even in a place like California or Connecticut, if more women feel that they can and then do make that choice for life. So again, it's a tough landscape, no doubt, in a place like California, tough political and cultural landscape, but there is so much good that can be done by encouraging individual pregnant women and working collectively to support them. And, you just never know also when a particular legislator is going to be moved
Yeah.
or, the carrots and sticks kind of work together sometimes, moved or
Hmm.
pushed
Yep.
by the act of having so many constituents show up there, right? To take a particular, maybe unexpected action in a particular context, or to stop something bad from happening that maybe we on the outside aren't even necessarily aware of, right? Because we're not privy to all the conversations that go on the inside. So again, I think that sort of immeasurable, but really, really important impact of bringing people together for amazing speakers, to be together with organizations from across the state, and then being mobilized to kind of stay active, stay involved. I think there certainly is an impact politically and culturally as well.
Well, I totally agree with you. And I think a lot of times, to your point, sometimes we can get so focused on, well, what bill is this going to help pass, or what court ruling is this going to impact? And we forget about that really valuable kind of cultural impact. And I loved what you said there. Sometimes we're trying to push things, but other times we're really trying to pull. We're really trying to tug on the heartstrings, whether it's of the legislators, whether it's of the media, or whether it's just of the broader culture, trying to pull them towards our position with that heart of compassion that is evidenced. And that's something I love so much, both about the National March for Life and about our California March for Life. It's not an angry, ranting thing. We're not doing it as a protest. It really is a movement of love and compassion and joy. And I would ask you on that note, because I know you've got to see now, obviously at the National March for Life, but at some of these state marches, how would you say you've noticed the March for Life create kind of a sense of community and solidarity among pro-life advocates who might otherwise feel isolated in their local contexts?
Yeah, well, it's something that I experienced myself, if I may just kind of turn back, like you said, Jonathan, we have something kind of remarkable in common, which is that unbeknownst to us over 2 decades ago, right, we were sort of both catalyzed by the very same 2001 March for Life. So I've experienced myself coming to a march as a teenager who already had
Hmm.
pro-life commitment, thanks to my parents and the church I grew up in and my home community. But coming as a young adult or someone on the cusp of adulthood, and that experience of being surrounded by so many other people, young people, and being encouraged and affirmed, it really did for me kind of knit me into the pro-life movement in a new way, right? It sort of solidified my commitments to being pro-life and helped me feel just again this sense of energy and momentum that has stayed with me for a really long time. And then I experienced that as a marcher again for many years. I saw it through my husband's eyes when he, as someone who did not grow up attending Marches for Life, started coming with me as a young adult. And he was really moved too by the size, well, I'm talking about the Washington March here, because again, we live here in Washington. So in a sense, this is our local march. We're lucky in that way, the
Right.
National March for Life. The size of the crowd, but not just the size, again, this sort of vibe, the energy and the joy and the youthfulness. You have everyone from babes in arms or in strollers to the incredible pro-life heroes who have been marching for life for even longer than you and I have, Jonathan, in some cases twice
Right.
as long, right? And it's remarkable how many people I've met just in the last few months who tell me, I have been to every March for Life since the first one, or, I missed one because I had a baby the day before, and that's the only one I missed, right? So it's incredible. And over the years, that community, that sense of community just kind of builds and builds and builds. And that is super, super important, I think, especially for people who don't live in a pocket of a place where there are a lot of other really visible pro-life people who share their beliefs.
No, absolutely. And I think it's something unique because both of us are examples, I think, of people who started at a March for Life as a participant. And then by God's grace, we both kind of grew into these different leadership roles, me at the state level, you at the national level. I think of also our staff member, Sophia. Just a quick story. I don't know if I told you this, but something hilarious. About 3 weeks before she and I met, we were at, myself and our staff member, Greg Burt, were on the stage at the National March for Life in 2022. And 3 weeks later, we meet Sophia. We ended up hitting it off really well. We ended up hiring her a couple of weeks after that. But when we were looking back through pictures at the 2022 National March for Life on the stage, we had a photo of myself and Greg Burt, our vice president, on stage doing a selfie from the stage. And we noticed in the corner of the photo, Sophia and her mom were literally in the front row at the March for Life. We had not met them at that point, but literally we were 50 feet apart. And I'm curious if you have other examples of that. I'm sure there's other people you've met nationally or even in Virginia and DC or nationwide, people that maybe had these inauspicious beginnings, but now have gone on to more significant leadership roles within the pro-life movement.
Sure. I mean, first of all, I love that story about Sophia. I mean, how providential, right? I just absolutely love that. Yeah. My colleague, Felicia Price-Nor, who runs government affairs for the National March for Life, is another example. Felicia grew up locally here in the Washington, D.C. suburbs. And so, we joke about how she's been attending the march even longer than I have because she was able to start coming as a kid, whereas I grew up 600 miles away in Indiana and it was not feasible for my family at the time. But she grew up coming, I think, with her group from her parish, one of the many thousands of little kids whose parents kind of drag them along, on the bus from their parish in the suburbs. And then again, fast forward many years later, after spending some time in the law, Felicia did it, like I did too, kind of working in a non-mission related field, right? Here we are working together with our March for Life origin stories. And even just on my own team, we have others who have stories of, well, I started coming to the march in high school, and I remember hearing Nellie Gray, the founder of the march, or my predecessor, Jeannie Mancini, on the stage, and she made such an impact on me, and now here I am. So it's really beautiful. And, I said this year from the rally stage at the National March, and I think it's so true that I looked out on that crowd of tens of thousands of people and thought to myself, my predecessor is here today. Someone is in this crowd who's going to be running this shindig after me. And that's incredible. And then after that person, and then after that person, right? And probably the same for you, Jonathan, at the California March and some of the other events that you do. And that's just an incredible thing to realize, that this beautiful, life-giving movement that is so youthful. I'm not so young anymore. It's been a long time since I was a teenager coming to the March for Life on an overnight bus. Yeah. But the teenagers keep coming. There's new ones every year. That's one of the most incredible things I think about this movement and these events, because it's their commitment and energy and their sort of purity of perspective in some ways that I think is really healthy and powerful for all of us to be around, right? And to be energized by. And I know without a doubt that at our, the folks coming to our events now are going to be the future leaders of the movement.
I completely agree with you. It's a multi-generational thing. It's one of my favorite things about the pro-life movement. I mean, I'm 42. I started doing pro-life outreach, way back when I was 8 years old with my parents. We went out and did a life chain here in Fresno, California. I remember going out and passing out pro-life literature outside of public high schools when I was in high school as a homeschool high school student. And just that that multi-generational impact that the March for Life makes. It is such a great opportunity to kind of provide an on-ramp for people who maybe are not familiar with the pro-life cause. They don't know how to get involved. I think we've done a pretty good job of pitching, but just in case you have someone who's watching, they've got to the end of this video and they're maybe just right on the fence and they're saying, okay, well, I'm interested, but is it really going to make a difference whether or not I actually attend? What would you maybe say is that closing pitch to whether it's a young person, a high school student, college student, or a family who's saying, do we want to come and stay in a hotel room? Do we want to make the drive up, 5 hours from Southern California? What's that closing pitch that you would say to tell them to invest this day or two in the California March for Life?
Mm-hmm. Well, it sure does matter. Every person who shows up sure does matter. And that's, if you think about the history of advocacy since time immemorial, but certainly the history of advocacy in this country, right? Assembling together to raise your voices on behalf of an issue you care about is one of our core freedoms as Americans. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the most important things we can do as citizens, really, right? Is to, because sometimes a singular voice is a little bit hard for legislators and cultural leaders to hear, especially if they're inclined not to hear it, right? But mm-hmm. It's very hard to block out the collective voices of many, many people, especially when, like you said, Jonathan, it's a multi-generational group representing everyone from babies to students to parents to grandparents who have been doing it forever. So our voices are so powerful when they're raised together, and every single voice that comes together at these marches really, really does matter. This is the greatest human rights issue of our time, and I think it's just an incredible privilege and an opportunity to be a part of this generation, especially this post-Dobbs generation, where we have an opportunity to shape the next moment of the abortion fight. So I certainly hope that first-timers will be willing to come to Sacramento on March 31st and give it a try. And the last thing I'll say is you'll have a great time, right? Mm-hmm. We're making it sound a little bit like a responsibility or an obligation, and we do have a responsibility to be engaged in these things, of course, but you're going to have a great time. It's not going to feel like a responsibility. It's a lot of fun. It's a wonderful day.
Well, absolutely. And I cannot endorse that strongly enough. It is amazing, Jennie, when you look at the fact so many other movements across time. You look at the civil rights movement, you look at the fights to end slavery, you look at fights against the Holocaust and Nazism. I mean, there's so many different things throughout history that have required a dramatic level of personal sacrifice and danger. In some ways, it's almost remarkable that we get to stand for life in such a joyful and hopeful way. I mean, it's really a blessing that I think the Lord gives us to be able to host the California March for Life alongside you and the wonderful folks nationally. And I'm so grateful again for you, to your predecessors, both Jeannie Mancini and to Nellie Gray, the impact that they had both on me personally and then also on the pro-life movement. And I am just thrilled that we get to work with you in this new season, this new phase of the National March for Life. And again, I know with so many marches going on, I know you're double booked this year. You can't join us in person, but we are eagerly excited to have you join us at a future California March for Life. We are excited to have your incredible team members, especially Hannah Gouch, coming out and joining us in Sacramento. And Sophia, I'll let you close it out with just the key details of when and where and how people can sign up. But again, Jennie, I just want to say thank you so much. We're thrilled to partner with you. We're thrilled for the long relationship and friendship that we have partnering with the National March for Life.
Yes. Absolutely. And for hosting me today. And everyone, go to Sacramento at the end of the month. It's going to be a terrific day.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jennie. And absolutely, I just want to second what you guys were saying on that last question about coming to the March for Life, and every person there does make a difference. And if you're watching this call and you're thinking, well, is it safe to bring my family? Is it safe to bring the kids? Yes, yes, yes. First of all, we take that all into our thoughts and planning, and we have the Capitol Grounds Reserve, the Capitol Police. They are amazing and do a great job. Only people that are supportive of the March for Life are allowed on the Capitol grounds. And we just love seeing all the little babies and kiddos running around. Mm-hmm. Jonathan, you've brought your 2 little sons over the past couple of years, and it's been so fun to watch them run around with little signs that say, "Save the babies" and "Stand up for life." And so absolutely, please come. I've been able to attend different March for Life for I think 5 or 6 years now with my mom, and my best friend came to her first one last year, and she's coming this year now pregnant, and her husband are expecting a baby, and she's so excited to be at the March for Life and pregnant and bring her baby to the first March for Life while he's still in her belly. And so please come with your family. It's such an amazing day, especially in California, where so often we feel like we are at different events having to really protest different situations going on or stand outside of Planned Parenthood and just try to save babies and different things going on like that. The March for Life is the day in California where it is just such a joyful day of pro-lifers uniting and almost getting a reminder that you're not alone in this battle. I always hear so many attendees tell me, I didn't realize there was this many pro-life Californians, and there are. So it's such an encouraging day. And so we are going to be so excited to see you guys all on Monday, March 31st. We have some great speakers lined up that we're going to start posting on social media pretty soon. And we have a day full of wonderful events. So the official March for Life events start at 11 a.m. We are going to have a praise and worship rally that Concerned Women for America and California Will Be Saved will be leading worship and prayers. At noon, we will have the official March for Life rally. And at 1 p.m., we will actually march around the state capitol. So we're so excited to see you guys there. And then there's also some extra events that are going on. So that morning at 8:30 a.m., there's a pastor's breakfast that California Family Council is hosting. If you are a pastor, or if you know your pastor is attending the March for Life, or you can use this as a way to encourage your pastor to attend the March for Life, they can visit californiafamily.org. They'll click the March for Life tab. Those links are also all in the comments right now. And you can register for the pastor's breakfast at 8:30. You can join Love Life for a prayer walk at 9:45 a.m. They're meeting at the Capitol. And there is actually a Planned Parenthood directly across the street from the California State Capitol. So they will be walking over there, leading a prayer walk where there'll be time to prayer and worship outside of that Planned Parenthood before, again, we hit that 11 a.m. rally. So we have a day full of events. Different ways you can get up is buses. So churches, if you are listening and you're thinking, oh, I would love to take quite a few people from our church, get a bus, register at marchforlife.org, register that bus so we can help make that easy. Again, hotel rooms. Today is the last day. Today, Monday, March 10th, is the last day to get that discounted room at the Hyatt Regency. That is for $209 for Sunday night. So you can get there and get well rested before the march. Normally those rooms can average $400 to $500 a night. So definitely go book your room right now. This is the last opportunity today. And then make sure to share about the March for Life on social media. I know Jennie, Jonathan, and I talk about all the time that when we post the March for Life, the California March for Life recap video and pictures, we always get comments, how would I know about this? I didn't hear about this. And so if you are listening, go share to your story. Visit March for Life on Instagram or California Family Council on Instagram. We have both shared plenty about the California March for Life. So reshare those posts. You'll find all the information there. RSVP at marchforlife.org that you're coming. But there is so much going on that day. It is going to be a great day. And if you stay tuned with California Family Council and March for Life on Instagram, X, and Facebook, you will be able to stay up to date with all of that information. And with that, we are so excited to see you all there. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. It's Sophia L at californiafamily.org via email. We'll make sure all your questions get answered so it is a smooth day. But with that, we cannot wait to see you guys on Monday, March 31st. And thanks again, Jennie and Jonathan, for sharing all your insight about the March for Life.
Thanks, Sophia. And thank you, Jennie.
Absolutely. Thank you both.